Cannabis has now been legal in Canada for 10 days, so why should you consider using it? Joining us is Terry Donnelly, CEO of the Hill Street Beverage Company, and Paul Hartman, who will tell us how cannabis contributed to his management of and recovery from cancer. But first, while we're on the topic of health, let's talk about one of the reasons Hill Street was started. We know alcohol consumption increases the risk of developing cancer and conflicts with some medications used to treat the disease. And you, Terry, devote a portion of every sale to support the fight against cancer. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we recognized at the beginning of the business that alcohol was actually contributing to a whole host of issues, not just drinking and driving, which obviously that's a serious problem that we need to continue working on. But, there's over a dozen different forms of cancer that are directly linked to alcohol. The World Health Organization has actually classed alcohol as a class 1 carcinogen. So the other class 1 carcinogens are tobacco, uranium, asbestos, plutonium, etc., etc. So when you end up seeing this toxin in a new light, you start to realize just how damaging it can be. The Canadian Centre for Abuse Research and Awareness does an annual survey on the societal costs of all of the substances that we abuse, and the total cost in Canada is $37 billion for substance abuse. However, about half of that is alcohol, and even more than tobacco. And of the amount that is alcohol, about $10 billion is related to health issues stemming from the consumption of alcohol. The World Health Organization just did a massive global survey that said there is no safe amount of alcohol, not even one drink a day. That whole idea of one drink a day, not even one drink a day is safe. So we developed a full line of products for those people who choose not to drink or who can't drink due to a health condition that allows you to enjoy the kind of beverages that you love to enjoy in social settings and with meals. And so we have a full lineup of beer and wine. And we've developed cocktails in the past and probably will in the near future to address those issues.
Now, Paul, you say it was your brother, late great SNL alumnus Phil Hartman, who said it best on the day he passed you your very first joint. Alcohol is for people who don't care and don't care to think. Cannabis is for people who care and care to think.
That is correct.
That is correct. So how old were you when you started?
I was 13.
13.
I was 13, living in Los Angeles in the 60s.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And the hard drugs were easier to get then. So it was pills, Benzedrine, Seconal, Tuinal, Nembutal, things like that came out of your parents' medicine cabinets.
Right.
And Phil and my oldest brother John were worried that I would go down that road. And so they thought it was advisable. The two of them consulted, and Phil sent me in another direction.
And eventually you became a master grower.
Yes, I did.
That you did. And then you were diagnosed with prostate cancer, and you say cannabis helped cure you.
Yes. It was the personal statistics in my life that pushed me toward cannabis as my sole treatment. At the time I was diagnosed, 6 of my best friends and 2 business associates out of those 6 were diagnosed with cancer. One, Angel Rosenthal, God rest her soul, she was instrumental in getting Phil his star on Canada's Walk of Fame, went in for her first chemo treatment and it killed her. It happens to 2%. Your doctors don't tell you this, right?
Is that why you feel the medical community lied to you?
Yes, I feel betrayed by governments and the medical community. For 50 years I've been vilified, seen as a criminal, as a degenerate, as all the bad labels that you can attach to cannabis. And it is unjustified when you go back and, in retrospect, look at the history of the American government holding 2 patents on cannabis since the 30s. And lying to us that it had no medicinal value. And so for me, having an organic farm in California, I spoke a lot about cannabis or cancer and diet and health. And I prepared myself psychologically for cancer. And then when I came back to the United States or to Canada, and got my diagnosis, I knew that I was not going to take the regular route just because of what I knew about cancer. And I was well educated about it. And I dove in even deeper and studied it from the ground up and the metabolism of cancer and how it works. And so I did the ketogenic diet. I juiced raw cannabis, and I did cannabis oil as a treatment. And in the course of that, in the first 6 months, I had already lost half of my friends that were diagnosed. And within a year, they were all gone, and I was the only one alive. And it was 60 days into my treatment with cannabis oil that I met my new urologist after being diagnosed in Saskatchewan and returning to Ontario. And I go in, and he's reading the diagnosis from the doctor in Saskatchewan. And, you know, your Gleason score was 10.2, your PSA was 12.7, 2/3 of your prostate was enlarged on the right-hand side, and in the biopsy, 13 samples were taken, and 7% cancer was found in one. And so he puts on the glove, greases up, and he goes in. I don't feel anything. It feels completely normal. I had been non-symptomatic for quite a while. And just doing that with diet and mushroom extracts and turmeric, juicing turmeric root, things like that, all worked phenomenal to alleviate the symptoms I was having.
So what's your key message then? What do you want people to know?
My key message is that people should do their due diligence. Do not surrender your life to doctors. They're using a system that has proved over and over again that it kills people. You know, and I think you have to be consciously aware. You know, real cancer is a very rare thing. The kind of cancers we get are stimulated by polluted bodies, too much sugar, a body becoming too acid. All those kind of things set up the precursory conditions that lead to cancer. So your diet is your first line of defense, and alcohol is, like he said, is a great contributor to all those factors.
So let me ask you, do you think now that it's been legalized that more doctors will be open?
I hope so. I mean, that's what happened in California when I was there. It was like here, you couldn't get doctors to prescribe it. Now it's become easier. You don't need the recommendation from your doctor. You simply get your records and you go to a cannabis doctor.
So Terry, as a licensed producer, what's your take on how cannabis-infused beverages and the like could be beneficial to treatment regimes?
Well, we actually see the opportunity to create 3 different segments of beverages. I mean, obviously, when you look at a bottle of wine, it speaks social use and recreation. And so that's, for us, we think is the easiest journey for the consumer to travel from what they're drinking now to what we hope is a far safer and healthier alternative to alcohol. The second big category we actually believe we'll be able to produce is functional beverages. So really what I would call on-the-shelf or over-the-counter therapies that come in a beverage. So nutraceuticals, pain relief medication, pain relief beverages, sport recovery beverages, beverages that give you, a happier time with your partner when it's time to be intimate, what we call a sexual wellness product. And so all of those kinds of things we think are beverages that you would drink for a specific purpose or occasion to gain a specific outcome, but that don't require a prescription. And then the third aspect we think is actually medicinal beverages. And because we have unique packaging and unique formats that we can do, we have a Tetra Pak packaging facility to be the only one in North America licensed to produce cannabis-infused beverages. We think we can produce medicinal quality and medicinal level doses of beverages that are far easier to digest and to absorb the active ingredient than any other forms.
Amazing. Paul Hartman, are you well now?
I am well.
Excellent. Where can people connect with you if they want to?
They can connect with me on Facebook at my personal page.
Perfect. And of course, Terry Donnelly can be reached through hillstreetbeverages.com.
Thank you.
Well, she said